Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned into the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and back. This is the first time we've ever had a guest on for the second time. This guest happens to have been one of our first fans, and I would like to believe one of our biggest fans, but most importantly, why I wanted to have him on. A year ago, almost to the day, I had Mike Williams on. He was a brand new associate to Waterstone Mortgage, a rookie loan officer, didn't know his butt from his head when it came to the mortgage industry. In fact, I interviewed him, and we didn't even talk about the mortgage industry. We talked about the car industry because you had just recently joined Waterstone after leaving the car industry. Today, I want to welcome you, and I want to thank you for coming on because we're going to celebrate the hell out of the fact that in your first 12 months, you closed over 100 transactions for over $24 million. Technically, you blew Casey McElroy, who's been on the show, a celebrated rookie loan officer, blew him out of the water. And I kind of want to pick your brain, Mike, and I want the audience to be able to hear your answers when it comes to the journey, right? I know some things because you and I work together, and I've been a part of your process over the past 12 months, but I really want to hear it from you because there's definitely going to be some things that you do that I'm not privy to, and the audience is going to get a good kick out of. So without further ado, please let me welcome from Waterstone Mortgage, future Rookie of the Year, shatterer of every production record. I'm saying all this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because he won't. But this dude is cranking out a ton of loans like a machine, still learning how to be a great professional, but has figured out the hardest part, which is how do you close 10 loans a month? You just go out there and do it. So Mike Williams, thank you for agreeing to come on the show. I know you're exhausted.
A little bit.
You were up until what time last night submitting loans to processing?
It was about 2:30, 2:45.
Whew, okay, so we're going to work on getting Mike a coach, and we're going to work on how we can reduce some of those hours. But, you know, you're not just a mortgage professional. Congratulations. You're a dad now to baby number 3.
Yep, thank you.
So your girls are how old now?
2-year-old twins just turned in February, and an 8-week-old baby girl.
Okay,
as well.
so imagine this. You're brand new to the industry. You're setting the world on fire. You're closing 10 loans plus a month. Oh, and by the way, you have, let's just start with 2-year-old twins.
That's pretty wild. That's a good time.
And then, let's throw a new baby in the mix. Why not? Why not? While you're trying to figure out this new career and you're dealing with basically what I would call drinking from a fire hose.
Very much so, yeah.
What do you, one of the first questions that I know anyone's going to ask if they're tuned in and watching this is, well, Mike, what do you attribute to your success? How did you close 100 units in your first 12 months?
I would say Waterstone Mortgage, number 1. Yeah.
No. But
seriously.
like full disclosure, and don't bullshit anybody. Like if you have something unique that no one else has, don't give someone false hope that, oh, it's going to be very easy.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, how'd you do it?
And it hasn't been easy for sure, but a ton of support, seriously, coaching, mentorship, just people in the office, the culture here, being able to ask anybody, anything, anytime. People answer the phone. They want to see you do well. That has been huge for sure. By making the phone ring, not knowing what to do after that, but making the phone ring, basically I built a business in the car business that we discussed last time I was here, and just taking care of people. You know, I remember I got a text at like 12:30 in the morning one time, and you know, my phone on loud for my alarm in the morning or whatever. My wife like, who is that at 12:30? You know, on a Tuesday night or something, and it was a customer texting me saying, hey Mike, you know, we bought our car from you 2 years ago or whatever, and the garage door opener in the car stopped working, and we were wondering if you could walk us through like putting it back together, you know. And while that's really annoying, I'm glad I did not remember these people, didn't remember the name, couldn't think of who it was, and I didn't even set their garage door opener. Like, you can't do that unless you're at their house, right? So anyways, the fact that I took care of them enough that they thought of me, like the first thing they did was text me. Maybe they didn't mean to send it at midnight or whatever, but you know, taking care of people, making that happen, establishing that relationship, and then being their, you know, subject matter expert, their trusted professional and whatever. And the big test was, will people follow me to, you know, the mortgage industry?
So I'm going to stop you right there because I think that's what's key to know. Someone tuning in, how did Mike Williams do this? How did he – because, by the way, what was your purchase to refi mix? Because, I mean –
82 82, I think.
82% purchase, right? Last year was a refi boom, right? We're not going to sugarcoat it. It was a refi boom. A lot of people made lots of money because of the refinances, and you did your fair share of refis, but as a rookie loan officer, you didn't rely on them. In fact, you did the exact opposite. And I think that's what's equally impressive for anyone tuning in, especially anyone gearing up for 2021 and 2022, where refis aren't going to be of abundance the way they were in 2020. You are an 82% purchase to refi mix, meaning 82% of your loans that you closed were purchase. That means 18% were refinance.
Yes, sir.
But what I hear and what I want to know is you were in the car industry as a salesman,
Yep.
and you were in the industry for how long?
5, almost 6 years.
Okay, so almost 6 years, and you were the type of sales professional that at 12:30, even though you didn't set up my garage when my car wasn't working and I couldn't open up my garage, the person texted you.
2 years later, 3 years later.
Yeah,
whatever.
2 or 3 years later, and although you didn't know their name, you still responded.
Exactly.
You still helped them. You put people first.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And yeah, it was annoying. And even things now, people call me, whatever, months and months later and ask about their homeowner's insurance provider and who it was and if I remember their phone number or whatever, But they're thinking of me, they're thinking of that loan officer or whatever that helped them with everything. There's tons we wear a lot of hats here for sure. I mean, you become a financial advisor basically. And if people trust you to do that, they remember you, you took care of them, you walked them through like the biggest purchase, of their lifetime more than likely. And all the stress of it, a lot of first-time home buyers, stuff like that, just complicated, hairy deals. Those are the ones that kind of forge those relationships and where people become, where they send everybody to you and they tell everybody about you. And that's kind of what I did in the car business for 5-6 years and then came here in the mortgage business and kind of plugged it in.
That's the key. That's the takeaway or the tie down that I was looking for, because you, for 5 going on almost 6 years, you were that guy that people trusted. You were that guy that when they interacted with you, they trusted you. You were authentic, and they knew that if you reached out to them in a time of need, that you would deliver.
For sure.
So it was natural. And I want to share this because not everyone's going to have exactly what you had, right? Not everyone's going to come from the car industry the way that you did. In fact, I know of you. I know of a guy by the name of Mike David up in Oklahoma, who both came from the car industry with a similar following, and you both blew it out of the water. So there's a little bit of a common theme there. But for anyone tuning in, please know that there wasn't a magical marketing trick that Mike Williams did to get the phone to ring enough times that he could pre-qualify enough home buyers that he would end up with enough closings. All you did is previously, for 5 to 6 years, took great care of people at a very high level. I mean, you were one of the top producers in your dealership group, if not the top producer. But you did such a good job that people remembered you and your cell phone number.
Right.
Right? And then when they reached out to you, you were able to tell them, hey, I'm no longer in the car industry. However,
Yep.
I can help you buy a house.
Exactly.
Now, help me brainstorm this. For anyone tuning in, they're like, well, shit, I don't have that. I'm not coming from the car business where I was the #1 sales guy, 5 years running, selling, by the way, like expensive vehicles, Denali's,
Right.
Like the most expensive SUV or truck that you can buy. Also one of the nicer vehicles you can buy.
Yes, sir.
But like I was just thinking as we were prepping for today's show, okay, well, if I'm not coming from that industry, but what industry am I coming from?
Right.
Right? Like we have a lady who just joined us. She's coming from the wedding industry. Okay, so she made some of the best cakes, groom cakes, wedding cakes for the past 9 years, has a crazy good Instagram following. Well, based on your success, we're going to go ahead and parlay your success into having this lady, Alejandra, lean hard into her Instagram following. Lean hard. I mean, think about the people who buy Denali's. Think about the people who pay $1,500 for a wedding cake.
Or a birthday or
Yeah, those people who are spending good money on. So that was someone who's coming from the cake making industry.
Yeah.
How about if you're coming from the law enforcement industry? You were actually first career was LEO, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, if you're a law enforcement agent, let's say you're a deputy in your local county, should you not be leaning hard into those relationships?
For sure.
Right? Whether the attorneys you knew, the judges you knew, maybe you got along with some of the firehouses. I know not all cops and firefighters, they have this love-hate relationship in certain markets, but you have all of your other boys and girls in blue. Those are people who should be buying homes, and they need an expert like you to have their back, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you're a cop, You got your brother, your sister 6. Whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, you should still have their 6.
Yeah.
But if you're not marketing to that and playing into that, that's what you did, right?
I still do it. Yeah,
and you still do it.
Yeah,
I mean, you
absolutely.
still lean hard into the people you've already helped once. You want to help them again.
For sure. And
Now, I'll shut up after this question. But you did a lot of purchase business. Somewhere along the way, you had to have collected or built relationships with realtors. Can you talk about, like, how did you lean into your network, your circle of influence, but then leverage that into relationships that are, at this point, withstanding and hopefully lifelong,
Right.
with realtors, where you invest in the realtor's business and in return, they trust you with their buyers?
I mean, the same idea, Everyone's got a circle of influence, kind of touching back to what you were saying. Everyone's got a circle of influence, no matter if it was people that did business with you because, I sold cars, or people you worked with in another industry, clients of you from, something where you owned your own business. Everyone has that, and that's what should be their focus. Like, everyone's good at something else, Like, if I were on Instagram and that's where I got my clients from, I would just fail miserably. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. That's why we got Coleman. But whatever your strength is, that's what you should play to, and don't shy from it because you're in a new industry or at a new job or whatever. Tap into that, go back to that old job, tell everybody what you do, and make sure that everyone in your life in some form or fashion knows what you do. And if you have that same mindset where you take care of people and you do whatever, go the extra mile, educate yourself at 3:00 in the morning on guidelines or whatever, so you can be an expert. Not that I am, but so you get in there type thing.
Well, how about
really
this? You
important.
closed 100 loans. So according to the chart,
Halfway.
DO,
Yeah, I'm halfway there.
you're at least good.
I'm good. Yeah.
You are good. You close 100 loans, you're good. You close 200 loans, you're an expert.
I think there's some underwriters that would argue with you, but I'll take the good. Yeah. So, anyways, taking care of folks, in the same way, and being that person to them. I mean, like I was saying, the annoying text at 2:30 or whatever, which really was annoying, but those kind of things, like that person's thinking of you, they trust you, they remembered you. And I think the big thing was I have a day of the week that I think I got from Big Mike that's just for calling big hitters, basically, right? Like my DOs or me, like I have somebody for everything, right? Like you need like a jacket, I have someone for a jacket. You need a new roof on your house, I know like 4 people that'll get you a quote on the roof. Whatever it is, I have somebody. Other people
By
like
the way,
that are
I
great
love
to
that you
know.
said that. That's the premise of this show. Why is it called the Loan Officer Podcast? Because everyone needs a good LO in their back pocket.
For sure.
Because a loan officer's job is to have a guy or a girl for everything.
Yep, context for everything, for sure.
So you said you pick a day of the week, and who do you call?
Just touch base with I call them my guys, right, or my girls.
Okay.
So the people like
These are the roofers and the tailors and the dentist, or are they?
The people that know the roofers and the dentists.
Okay.
And the people that no matter what you're talking about, they're like, oh, I got some. Oh, look, call Caesar. Call this
Okay.
guy, whatever. So people like that, which are usually like entrepreneurs, business people, or people that own their own business, that kind of thing. A lot of folks like that, people that have a stronghold in the community, like where I'm at, things like that. So I reach out to them, maybe 4 or 5, in a morning or whatever, just to catch up type of thing, talk to them, remind them, see if they got a problem, if they got someone I should meet. And I literally ask them that, like you said, how did the car business clients parlay into this? I always had my cell phone. You couldn't rely at the dealership level. Someone calls the dealership line, you will never know they call the dealership line until they're like leaving in a car on your day off, right? So everything was done on my cell phone. So while I was here, and especially training, I'm someone that has to know what I'm doing, at least to some degree, before, I'm like taking one of those relationships and putting it at stake and putting their purchase and the agent and the title company and the listing agent and the sellers and all that. Like, I don't want that on my shoulders unless I think there's a good shot. We'll get it done, and I trust myself enough to do it. I'm not going to let them trust me to do it. So my phone would ring in training, and did not want to do loans yet. Definitely just wanted to learn everything I could before I was comfortable enough to do it. And I literally had clients like, no, I'm buying this house, or I'm refinancing or whatever, and you'll figure it out. Like, I know you'll figure it out. You got people there that like know what they're doing. I'm like, oh yeah, there's tons of people. Well, they'll help you, I'm sure. So let's just do that. How do I apply? I'm like, I don't even know how you apply. Let me figure that out. Okay, call me when you know how I apply.
Let me ask you a question. In hindsight, do you think it's possible, looking back, that you could have learned it without doing it?
No.
Like if I made the statement, the number one way to learn this business is to do it.
Yeah. 100%.
You would not disagree?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm really glad those first, I think my second month, I closed 1 purchase. My third, I closed 2, and my fourth, I closed 1. And I learned more from those. And obviously it tied in with training and everything else and conversations and coaching and all that. But it really put it all together. So, I'd bought a house. I'd bought 2 houses before. That was as much experience that tied things in. Now I've actually walked people through, what's a CD, what's a loan estimate, what are points, and different programs and guidelines and just how the process works. Yeah, you just got to go do it, really. And that's what I knew about coming here. It was such a huge risk to leave, a well-paying job, and, it's something I was accomplished at and good at. And when you get good at something, you get comfortable, and it's really hard to go, I'm just going to walk away from that and just throw it against the wall over here and see how this goes. But, ultimately I did, and obviously it worked out. I love it. I'm happy, but forget where I was going with that, to be honest.
Well, no, from an income standpoint, obviously you had one of your best income years, if not your best income year, which was fantastic. Something I do want to circle back on is I love, because I never did this in my career. I never did this, although guys like Michael J. Mayer in his book 7 Levels of Communication talk about this. You really worked your circle. I'd call them your VIPs. You call them your my guys, right? Mm-hmm. But those are VIP people in your life. Those are people, and you didn't sit dormant. You made a point. You were very proactive in keeping that relationship alive.
Yeah, and I think a big thing to say to any future LO or current LO, because I know a lot of them that are bad at it. Not here, but just the complaint I get from most of my agents or new agents that are saying what they're not happy about. It's answering the phone, right? Mm-hmm. So I always answer the phone, even though I'm sitting here in training and I didn't know what I was doing. I still answer the phone for all these clients and told them, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not at the dealership anymore, but I can refer you to somebody, help you out, whatever. I want to make sure you're taken care of. Oh, what are you doing? I was almost scared to tell them, I'm doing mortgages now. Oh, you're doing mortgages? Well, I'm not doing mortgages. I'm trying to figure out how to do mortgages. Give me a minute. 6 months, maybe 3 months. I don't know. But anyways, not sleeping is definitely.
Well, you mean submitting 3 loans to processing at 2:30 in the morning and then helping your wife with an 8-week-old and twin 2-year-olds is draining on you at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on a Wednesday?
And she's a machine, so thank God. Yeah, it's
no. Well, here's what I'd asked you. I kind of want to get back to it anyhow. I think I heard the answer, but I want to repeat it for the audience. How did you? Because you now have solid relationship with 12 to 18 realtors. That you have their back, they have your back. You guys you do life, you do business together. Yep. You were able to be introduced to those realtors through your guys and girls.
Correct.
Right? That's what you did. You reached out to your circle and you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing. My job is to network with realtors. Yeah. Who do you know?
Have you guys been doing this podcast thing for a while? You're really good. That's exactly what I was going to tell you about. Yeah, you caught right where I was at. I appreciate it. So the phone rang, and really early on I met some of my best agents now that, again, I was kind of scared and hesitant to even start working with them. You don't want to ruin what could be my best agent for 20 years because I did a loan my first 3 or 6 months instead of 9 or 12 months or 2 years or whatever.
Like they were already proven and successful,
right.
Known in the community, and you're like, I don't know if I want to work on my first couple loans with you, but you had to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of happened. And some I put off and went back to later and said, hey, I think I got it. Let's send me a hard one. Let's see if I do have it. And that's what they do. So the first conversations were, doing a mortgage review, just seeing if it made sense to refinance, and rates were just coming really low at the time. COVID was hitting kind of a weird time too.
How about that? You launched your mortgage career, I think, a month before COVID hit?
1 month before, and then...
the whole world shut down for the next month. Yeah. We did nothing, and then we slowly started inching our way back into normalcy.
Yeah, that was a minute. I was home for 3 or 4 weeks as well, working from home, training, doing all that, finishing that up. But yeah, I closed 4 loans those 3-4 months. First 4 months, I guess, 4 loans. So not very much, obviously, training, doing all that kind of stuff. And then I guess it was June that things started taking off. Probably May, I was getting busy with applications and stuff, and So anyways, the first conversations when my phone would ring or I'd reach out to somebody, let them know, hey, I've moved, this is what I'm doing, or they called me for something or to catch up, whatever. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, maybe it makes sense to refi, oh, we rent, blah, blah, blah. So I started asking them, like, hey, do you have, a realtor? Like, who's the best realtor? Not someone that does it part-time and they're a high school principal or something, like someone that is an agent full-time that you think I'd get along with. It's part of my job is to meet agents and help them, basically. And then, like, what a warm referral to that person. I mean, honestly, I don't know if anybody in my life, whether I was in the mortgage business or not, doesn't know, like, at least a decent agent, right? In Orlando, Florida, there's like 19,000. There's probably more than that. There might be 100,000.
I think that's right. I think it might be like 10 or 12.
I might have heard that somewhere then. Lucky guess. But yeah, so they introduced me, and then obviously, hey, Mr. Coleman, Dustin told me that we should get to know each other. I've been doing business with them for 5 years, and they trust me, and they said the same thing about you. And that's the truth. Like, at the end of the day, do I want to work with people that I don't get along with, that we don't have? And I have all types of walks of life and creed, religion, everything else for agents, but just like-minded people. Like, we get along. I'd go to lunch with all these people. I'd go to dinner. We'd hang out with the kids or whatever. That's a big deal. And those people they knew me. They knew that person, so they were able to say, like, yeah, but y'all probably wouldn't work together. Or you know what? No, y'all would hit it off. Absolutely. Here's his number. I'm going to call him right now, or her, then tell him you're calling.
So it's that network.
That's most of those agents. Yeah, just working that network.
It's that. So when it comes to getting enough referrals to end up closing 100 loans, it ends up being this. Have a large network, lean hard to it, ask them for realtor referrals,
for sure.
But don't hide from what you want. You want like-minded people who are serious about their business, because you are too.
Whether they're new, and I grew with a lot of agents, for sure. And I told them right away, hey, I am brand spanking new. And how long have you been doing this? It seems like most of them were like on their second year when I was on my first year, it seems like. And we all grew together. And I had built a business, a referral network, a business of repeat and referral clients with no, internet leads or whatever, cold calling or knocking on doors or any of that. So I had a lot of tips for them to help them, I mean, I'd have, how many agents did you have in your life ask you to pay for Zillow leads or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like every LO right now, it's like, all of them basically, right? So anytime I get asked, I had this conversation yesterday on the way home with a newer agent in town, and struggling, 6-8 months in the business or something. One of my brokers, new hires, and anyways, his job has, like a cush circle of people, not huge, but definitely enough people to do plenty of business as an agent, for sure. And I'm like, well, when's the last time you told every single one of them and reminded them that you're a real estate agent, I never really, I'm kind of nervous about getting in trouble if we're talking about it or something. Like, man, get real. I would wear like a sign around my chest that said, I'm a real estate agent in Florida or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing, is I help them build their business.
Yeah, so this guy hit you up for money. You're like, look, I'm going to do one better. I'm not going to give you the $500 or $1,000 you're looking for. I'm going to sit down with you, and I'm going to coach you. I'm going to coach you on best practices that I know that work, that are, by the way, free.
Yeah. 100%.
And then also they're more productive.
Yeah. So what's better? Internet lead asking about our points and fees, or Bob that lives down the street from Mary, who I've been doing business with for a year, or that I worked with 2 years ago, or that whatever the connection is, there's some connection there, and they're calling you. They're not online, like in their underwear in their living room shopping for the cheapest rate or fees or a free loan or whatever it is that you're up against. Like, it's so much harder to convert somebody like that, so much less likely that you'll even get a 1003 out of it or IRLA out of it. It's so much less likely that you'll lock a loan like that you'll fund a loan like that. I mean, those warm referrals, people that are in some type of circle that you're in, and the more people, I think, think about it or put their mind to it, they know a whole lot more people. Maybe they don't want to talk to these people, reach out, let everybody know what you're doing. I had a couple title companies too. I don't even know who told me that. Reach out to title companies, and I met a lot of my agents from like 2 people that
I would have told you to do that.
Business.
I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, it might have been like 3 or 4 of you, so I didn't want to put it just on you, but yeah.
I'll take full credit, damn it. I'll take full credit.
I think it was. And so like 2 title companies I had pretty good connections with from car clients of mine, and they just every day. I mean, once a week probably, I get some random call like, "Hey, this loan's falling apart for this agent that is listing a house here," and I told him maybe you can help. I don't even know if you want to mess with it, and I'm like, "Oh, what is it? It's
there you
a
go.
$500,000 conventional loan, or something."
Like, there's a nugget.
Self-employed. I'm like, oh,
befriend closers at title companies.
Yeah, closers.
Let them know that you love to do the hard loans.
Yep.
If something's going sideways,
sure.
to give you a call. At least give you first right of refusal. At least give you the opportunity to give them a second opinion. And the second opinion may be,
it's dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah, I just
but but at least you get that opportunity, and you're like raising your hand saying you want to do that.
And what is the new agent to you? Like, obviously the borrower's who you're focused on in that moment. What's the new agent to you think about you that you just said from Jump Street? Hey, I'm not saying anything bad about them. Maybe they didn't have all the information, but I just looked at this for 30 seconds. Just had this conversation before I walked in here. I just looked at this for like 45 seconds. It isn't going to work.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to work. It's never going to work. They shouldn't have been pre-approved. Piece of paper they gave you is worthless. Here's the way to get it better, but this house is dead. Like, don't lose your EMD and your deposit and move on for sure. They appreciate it. And it's like, and I think the easiest thing to make yourself attractive to agents, A, be yourself and follow through and do what you say you're going to do. B, is to ask them what they don't like about whatever lender that they're on the fence about. Otherwise, why would they really be talking to you, right? Depending on how you met or where the conversation's taking place. But how do we get on the phone, right? I sent you an email or whatever and said, hey, we have a mutual connection. They said I should know you. I'm Mike Williams. I work at Waterstone Mortgage. Blah, blah, blah. Well, if they emailed back or called you, there's probably something. Maybe a deal went south. Maybe they don't know if it was the loan officer's fault or not, 'cause it always is, but it never is, right, when you ask the LO. But anyways, excuse me. I think just being like straight with them, just asking them what they dislike about that, and most of the time it's they won't pick up the phone. I've never heard from them. They've never returned a call or picked the phone up from 5 days to a closing till it funded type thing. Whether we got an extension or not, they were always on vacation or in a meeting or whatever. And it's like, no, those are the times you really need to answer the phone and keep people updated. And like I tell all my agents, all my borrowers, honestly, like as soon as we have a problem, before I've even figured out a solution or even know that there is a solution, I'm going to call you and tell you we got a problem, especially the agent for sure. Just so you know, like, hey, something's up. Yeah, and man, I messed up, or I oversaw this, or they didn't tell me this, and maybe I should have asked a couple different ways, but it's new information. The underwriter found out, which is never good. We want to know that ahead of time and set it up, whatever. And I'm sorry you drove 2,000 miles and made, in this climate right now, 10 offers and finally got one accepted. And, I shit the bed or whatever, I messed up, or the borrower fibbed about something, or went and bought a car a week before closing, or quit their job because they know they're making more money now 3 weeks before closing. That was cool last month. That kind of stuff happens.
Sounds like you've been put through the ringer, which is good. I mean, you've gained experience through all of this. I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Then we probably should wrap it up, although you and I can sit here and talk shop for days.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm going to throw this caveat out there. Please know that this company is not a sponsor. They don't pay to advertise. I do pimp them out a lot, which is Zenix.
Yeah.
Young professionals, young in their career, I tell them they need to look into Zenix, whether you pay for it, whether you work for a company that pays for it. At a minimum, do ground school, possibly ground school and flight school. It's going to teach you the basics, the foundations, the stuff that, quite honestly, your sales manager doesn't have the time to teach you the basics. In 15 words or less, am I blowing smoke? And if I am, tell me, like, D, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give Zenix this number. Or like, how would you, looking back 12 months ago, how much importance would you, knowing what you know now, put on a formal self-guided education such as one that's provided by Zenix? I'm curious because I don't know this answer.
What I was talking about earlier with doing those first few loans when I really didn't even know the process or the steps, I didn't even know how to advise them what was happening next. Like, I don't know, let me ask somebody what's happening next, right? That's what, and I said after I closed those like 3 or 4 deals, really the first one helped a ton. Excuse me. After I closed those 3 or 4 first deals, that's what it was tying in, was all the lessons from Zenix and, even YouTube videos and stuff that I'd watched about just different things, debt to income, calculating loan to value, LLPAs, different programs, That's what made all that kind of click, was actually doing the loans. If I'd have just done the loans and not known the like why behind the how, I guess, then that it's like 50-50 basically, doing loans and having something like Zenix in your back pocket, especially at the same time, a lot of Zenix and a little bit of doing a loan or two, even if you're following somebody else's loan,
So you would still recommend it?
Absolutely.
If you're talking to Mike Williams a year ago, you would say, hey,
knock
that's
this
part
out.
of the playbook that you don't want to rip out.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
It's good for me to know, because I do constantly and consistently, because I believe in it. I mean, I'm technically a Zenix graduate myself.
Yeah.
And I know here at Waterstone, we provide it to you all, and we believe in it. But rarely do I actually put someone on the spot and say, hey, by the way, did I waste my money?
No, not at all.
Was this worth it? So keep that in mind. Let's go back 12 months ago. What would you tell yourself just 1 year ago? Hey, Mike, do more of this and do less of that. What is the this and what is the that?
I would say refis, just from a purely money and experience, income, and the learning of doing more loans.
Oh, you wish you did more refis?
For sure. I definitely left money on the table, not doing as many refis. I was really, when you suck at something, you're slow, right? And when you're scared to mess it up, you're slow, you triple, quadruple, you overanalyze everything until you don't have time. And that's what happens in this business, and probably everything. The car business was similar. Law enforcement was similar. It's like you kind of have a lull, and then holy moly, everything's going nuts and everything's exploding, and then it kind of slows down again. And, managing that is kind of always a battle. It is right now. It's always like that. But
well, no, it was more of like what did you think you wish you did more of? Like you said, you wish you did more refis. Like you and I were talking offline how you're like, man, it's fantastic you did 82% purchase, but you're like, I feel like I left money on the table, which, by the way, there's top producers who have been in this industry for decades who feel the same way.
Right.
Like, and I would tell you, don't beat yourself up. You did the most important thing, which was a lot of volume.
Agreed.
For someone who didn't know what they were doing, still learning their craft, and you focus on the purchase, because the purchase will pay you
relationships
forever.
Yep.
You leaned hard into your relationships. You build relationships. I mean, that's your niche and your shtick, is you build real relationships that last a lifetime, but you also work them. You reach out to your people. You check in on your people. Which, if you have a circle of influence and you're not doing that, that's a really easy light switch to turn on.
For sure.
I mean, because it doesn't take really any talent or any preparation. You just start
Money
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no money either, right?
Yeah.
You just start doing it. But in hindsight, okay, you wish you would have capitalized. But that's honestly too easy of an answer. Right, that's because I don't know how realistic that would have been. Because could you have really taken on more business?
That's what I was scared of. I was scared that those extra, 2 or 3 refis or whatever it would have been at the time were going to bog me down, bog the system down, and it would just implode. And then, of course, if I screwed up some purchases, now we're losing real. You screw up a refi, it's like, oh, hey, sorry, you're not closing Tuesday. You're closing next
correct.
Friday.
Yeah, that's why I love refis.
Like,
you can't
good.
screw them up.
I didn't even know we were closing Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Purchase, it's like, oh, we're canceling and this, and
because
charging borrowers for a 2-day extension and crazy stuff.
I would tell you, good job not chasing the low-hanging fruit, because here we are, interest rates are almost up a full 1%.
What would I be doing?
Refis have dried up, and you're not freaking out.
Yep.
You're still closing. I think you closed like $3.9 million last month.
That's just
right. I mean, you still are doing crazy good numbers because you didn't let refis.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking. Like you shared with me certain resources. Would you mind sharing? Because you're obviously a resourceful person. We teach you a lot here at Waterstone. We don't teach people how to be resourceful.
right.
Like you're mentioning YouTube videos that you went and found on your own. You've told me when we were prepping for today's show about Facebook groups that you're a part of.
Yeah.
No one told you about those. You went out and found them on your own?
So I can shout them out?
Yeah, go for it. Shout them out.
The new loan officer new loan officer group on Facebook has a good bit of content. Other LOs asking questions, a lot of new LOs.
Make sure you tell those LOs about the Loan Officer podcast.
I'm going to share it on there now that I shouted them out.
Awesome.
The Loan Officer Deal Desk on Facebook is cool for seriously, it's 2 a.m. on Sunday, and, Dio won't answer the phone, or Ben or Mike or whoever. You can go on there and post a question, and there's some underwriter up, man, in Alaska or something that will go on there and answer, and it's probably right. They know what they're talking about. But Sales Remastered is an originator in California. It's all refis, it's all incoming calls, but a lot of good points on when people are like fighting rate or fees or whatever, just, reasonable things that's centered on an LO.
So those are 3 Facebook groups that you asked to join, and they allowed you in.
Yeah, one's Sales Remastered is YouTube videos, just that a guy, a loan officer, like a manager does at some unknown bank in California, basically. A lot of good information. He does like live phone calls. It's different than like what we do, but incoming refi leads basically is like 99% of what he does. But a lot of good information there.
The Loan Officer Podcast, obviously.
Well, yeah, you said that at the beginning.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I've been listening
can't plug
since
it enough.
day one. Yeah, agreed. I listen to all of them. So yeah, stuff like that. I think, especially you don't sleep at night because you got a million babies running around or whatever. It's good to get into like that mindset on the way to work I listen to podcasts. I do it on YouTube, but the video's not playing. I'm just listening to the truck or whatever. The shower this morning, I was listening to something about originating loans, and I guess one trick or tip I would say for like a new loan officer, like what are you most afraid of, right? It's like conversations with borrowers when they're shopping you, they're asking you like, really pointed questions that have a black and white answer that you don't know because you probably won't. And talking to like agents and them asking you questions, so I want to see what the consumer, like the end user, is researching. So if I were getting a mortgage and I was not in the mortgage business, I would probably go on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, and I would look up, videos on, hey, 10 things not to do on, your first home buyer, programs and how it fits you and doesn't or whatever. And a lot of it is like shit information, like really bad information. But I hear it so many times from borrowers, I'm like, they got to hear it somewhere. Like, where are they getting this from? Well, there it is. It's on the internet, But listening.
If it's on the internet, it must be true.
Yeah. It's the videos from 2004 or something. And things might have changed since then. They've changed since I've been here. So, anyways, I like to see that and kind of seeing like what research they're doing, the information, the resources that they're going to. Like we have Ask Polly, the 4000.1, blah, 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 the intranet for us. But what's the end user? What's your buyer? What's your borrower? What's your agent like watching or what's popping up on their feed? I think that's important because then you're putting yourself in their shoes and now you're ready for those questions when they come up with it. As silly as it sounds to us because we know what's going on, they don't, man. And even if you bought like 10 houses, you're 60 years old and you bought one every 6-7 years. That's not a lot of houses. That's it's been so long. You're not good at it. You still suck at it.
Yeah.
Things have changed so much since you did it last time. You really don't know what you're doing. So a lot of people are going to those resources. So I like to look at those two, that consumer-facing resource.
What do you wish you did less of? Think about those first 90, 180 days.
Oh yeah.
Heck, even 200, even 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like what do you wish you were doing less of? Because now that you're a year into it, now that you have your first 100 loans underneath your belt, you're more experienced. You've made a ton of mistakes, which, by the way, it's how we all learn. If we're not out there making mistakes, I joke, but I'm serious when I say, look, life's about a race to see who can make the most mistakes, the soonest, the quickest, and then learn from them.
Fix it, yeah.
But, like, what do you wish that you did less of?
Babysitting deals from A to Z, basically. Like, and especially when you don't have that many loans. When you have 10 loans in your pipeline and 3 are closing in the next month or whatever it is, 1 loan in your pipeline, like you want to hold that thing and cradle it and walk it all the way. Like you want to make sure the title company knows that the closer is possibly going to reach out this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. Just stupid stuff like that, processing my own deals basically just because I couldn't get my hands out of it, and then you end up training everybody else that you're going to sit there and babysit everything, and then maybe they don't have to worry about it as much. I think really just coddling deals all the way through instead of focusing on what I can affect. And, I don't remember who told me, I think it was Ben. He was like,
you're a sales manager,
right?
Yeah,
my sales manager. So Ben Davis told me, turn your phone off, turn your email off, whatever. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a certain day I had to do something, maybe with the pregnancy or something. He's like, just turn your email off and see what happens, And I'm like, really? I have like 3 loans closing in the next 2-3 days, and I'm sure, we're going to get an hour from the underwriter on this one. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. I'm going to need to do something. So just turn your phone off. I'm like, shit. So I turned my phone off, and guess what happened?
They all closed.
Yeah.
They all closed.
Nothing. And I missed all types of drama and blood pressure and sweat.
And just so you know, but anyone listening knows, I promise you when I say this, that's a maturation thing. And that's something that you never stop working on it. It's like a marriage, or it's like being a parent, right? As a parent, I'm always working on trying to be a better parent, trying to be a better spouse, trying to be a better brother, a better friend. Managing your pipeline, there is no, I got it, I'm done.
Yeah,
no, it's a
art,
maturation. Man. It's an art. And like most art forms, you're never ever going to perfect it.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as a major league pitcher. Baseball pitcher. Yep. Usually, if you look at someone who has like a 15, 16-year career, they got into the bigs because they could blow people away. Dude, they needed a fastball and a curveball, and they dominated. That worked at 24. By the time 34 hit, they don't do that anymore. Right at 34, if you watch them pitch, they're crafty. Yep. Right? The fastball now is what they use as the changeup, and they're more about location and tricking hitters versus blowing them away.
Right.
Same person, same professional, and just one has 10 years, and there's a maturation and a growth process. So you saying that about your pipeline as a leader in this industry, I loved hearing it because it's so true. But I'll just warn you and anyone listening, it may take Mike 3 more years before he feels comfortable that he's truly managing his pipeline, has the systems and processes in place, and he's following them.
Yeah, for sure.
You can put the systems and processes in place, but if you don't follow them,
agreed.
Or you can put systems and processes in place, but if you don't have enough loans, you can't perfect them.
Yep.
I mean, you kind of need a combination of both. How about this? Any parting shots for the audience? Anyone tuning in that's younger in their career, maybe someone who's not younger in their career, but they're trying to go to the Mike Williams level. What advice would you have for those people tuning in?
Watch the Loan Officer podcast. For
I
sure.
appreciate that,
I'm
man.
serious. I get a lot out of it. 100%,
I wish you were a big drinker. I could just reward you with a bottle of whiskey or a nice IPA.
I appreciate it. No worries. IPA's like once a month,
Yeah. 2 beers and Mike's drunk, by the way. It's a little little intel on Big Mike Williams.
Yeah, thanks. I guess taking care of people and not focusing on the specifics and the things that we worry about. So, and even like a refinance transaction, let's say, when someone calls you and says, hey, what's your rate? I was referred to you and it was a warm transaction. It's all these things I just talked about, it was someone in your inner circle or whatever that referred them. And you've got this great relationship, but they just call you. I don't want to pull credit. I have perfect credit, right? I W-2, I make $1 billion. My debt to income, I calculated it last night on, some website and it's 4.5, I think. And they tell you all this and we're worried about rate and stuff. Like, figure out what people really want. Like, what is really, the reason. I mean, it helps you sell, but it also helps you take care of them. It's kind of a sales tactic, but what is it that exactly is their fear? Is it that you're going to screw them somehow? Is that what they're worried about? Is it that they're going to mess up or make a bad decision? Or is it that they need to save because they got a kid that's going to college in 3 years and they haven't even thought about saving yet? Is it because their credit card bills are $2,000 a month and they make $60,000 a year? Get to the real issue. Getting that out of people. You got to be genuine with them. You got to ask the right questions. You got to have some at bats to figure out how to do that, and then go solve that. Like, forget about rates and programs and down payment assistance and guidelines and all that. Like, all that's important. You have to know that to do anything in this business for sure. But you're there to help people. We say it all the time. They're calling you to buy a house, not to buy a loan and just go through this horrible, often, search through all the documentation they've ever had and things that don't exist and letters of explanation. At the end, they want a house. Make it happen and curtail it to what's important to them. Is it payment? Is it this? Is it that? Like, figure that out. Find a solution. Be good enough. Be well-versed enough to know what that solution is. Offer it to them and forget about all the little things that we worry about and babysit. And then once you've fixed it, let your team kind of take to the finish line and, just call them when they're clear to close and be the hero, basically, without all the stress.
That's fantastic. Make it about the people.
For sure.
Like, you're one of my favorite people. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your depth of knowledge and your experiences with these people. Do you care if people reach out to you? And if so, how would you prefer them to reach out to you? Via LinkedIn, via Facebook?
I don't know. I would say...
well, there's Google. Look, he's Mike Williams. He works at Waterstone Mortgage in the state of Florida. I mean, look, you can Google the guy and probably find him.
I would say email. M. Williams, M as in Mike, Williams, my last name, at waterstonemortgage.com.
Mike, thank you so much. Congratulations on the year you had. Obviously, the sky's the limit. You're just getting started. It's going to be so cool to see how this year shakes up. I mean, I've already seen your first quarter numbers, and it looks like it's going to shake up better than last year. But, how things look 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Hopefully in 10 years, I won't be around. I'll be alive, but I won't be around. You may still be around, and you'll have a 10-year-old, and you'll have twin 12-year-olds in 10 years. But I hope to be somewhere quasi-retired on my sport fishing yacht somewhere in the Caribbean. But
living the dream.
That's for a whole nother episode. Thank you for tuning in. Look, if you want to be like Mike, tune into the Loan Officer Podcast. We are on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcast, the Loan Officer Podcast. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at the Loan Officer Podcast. You can hook up with me on LinkedIn, Dustin Owen. He's Mike Williams. I'm D.O. That's all the time we have for you today. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.